welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be talking about how to spot a narcissist. I am going to be sharing with you my top 6 red flags that someone is potentially a narcissist. So this is going to save you a lot of heartbreak, and it's going to save a lot of your precious time, because when you're dating and when you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that the partner you choose is going to be able to fulfill your needs. They're going to treat you with absolute love, kindness and respect, and they're going to be able to hold down the relationship long term. The narcissist is not going to be able to do any of those things. The narcissist is incapable of loving you the way that you deserve. So maybe you're currently in a relationship or dating someone and something doesn't just feel quite right. You feel like they're not treating you the way that they should be. Maybe you've heard of the word narcissist, you've probably heard of it on social media, and you want to know more about it and make sure the person you're with isn't a narcissist. Or maybe you're really apprehensive about dating again and getting into a relationship because you've been in a cycle of toxic relationships. You're really struggling to break that cycle and you're scared you're going to make the same mistakes and end up heartbroken again. I have managed to break that cycle. So I am now in a 2-year long-term healthy relationship, the most healthiest, loving relationship of my life with the kindest, most respectful man. I'm so proud of myself that I was able to break that cycle of toxic relationships. Like, I nearly gave up all hope when it came to finding a good man, but I did it, and if I can do it, so can you. And now for me, spotting a narcissist, it is so easy. Like, do you know when people say they've got a gaydar? I have got a narc-dar. Like, I can spot a narcissist from a mile away, 100 miles away. The signs are so obvious. The signs are there very early on. People are not master manipulators. It's us that kid ourselves. The signs that, like, even when my head was like super messed up, I had bad mental health, I was desperate for love. When I look back, the signs were there very early on that these people were narcissists and they weren't right for me. People don't pull the wool over your eyes. Literally, we pull the wool over our own eyes. So side note to this, like I said, I'm sharing with you top 6 signs that someone's a narcissist. Usually it's a couple of these red flags that make someone a narcissist and not one in isolation. But the 6th red flag that I'm going to speak about, that one is a big one. If someone has that trait, that very, very likely means that they're a narcissist with just that one trait in itself, because it is so important. So without further ado, let's get cracking. So number 1, they say that all their exes are crazy. All their exes were psycho and they take zero responsibility in why the relationships broke down. When I think of my previous relationships from the past, I have had some like really messed up things that have happened and been with some guys that weren't the best. Like I said, I've been with narcissists. I could say that they were crazy, they were psycho, but I never say that. I think it's just a very much blanket statement to sort of shut that conversation down and put it to one side. And that statement, oh yeah, my ex was a psycho, my ex was crazy, it very much just, like I said, puts that conversation to one side and ensures that the narcissist doesn't have to speak about the role they played at all, because their ex was psycho, so it's nothing to do with them. It's nothing that they could have possibly done. It's not that they could have possibly driven their ex crazy and psycho from their behaviour. You can see they just don't take any responsibility in the situation. But like I said in the introduction, if someone says this, maybe on a first date with someone and someone says one of their exes was crazy, there is a chance that someone's been out with someone who is a bit crazy, but they're actually a lovely person themselves and they're not a narcissist. But it's just something to look out for. If someone said that their exes were crazy, just keep that in your back pocket. And then after listening to the other red flags that I'm going to discuss, If there's more red flags to add on top of it, if there's multiple things that you end up putting in your back pocket and identifying, that's when you need to be thinking seriously, is this person a narcissist? So the second red flag is that the relationship is very one-sided and it's being driven predominantly by you. I will say at the start of a relationship with a narcissist, they will love bomb you. So at the start, they will probably be initiating calls, texts, dates, because they are mirroring your behavior. They want to get in your good books and they want to get you hooked. However, once you are hooked on them and you've fallen hook, line and sinker and you're in love with them and you think they're the best thing since sliced bread, things will start to change and they will start to withdraw from you. You will have this sense that they are keeping you at arm's length, and then it will be you who's messaging first, who's making calls. I can remember with my ex, I always felt like if I didn't arrange the next date, I didn't know when he was going to arrange it. I feel like a couple of weeks could have passed and maybe he would have messaged me, but he wouldn't have initiated for us to meet up. It felt very one-sided. A narcissist is generally an avoidant attachment style. They don't like people too close, because if people are too close, that's how they get hurt. So at the start, yeah, they'll be super loving, they'll be affectionate to you, they'll be initiating calls and dates and texts. But then the mask starts to drop and they start to turn into their true selves, and their true selves is to hold you at arm's length. This is establishing also the power dynamic of them being on top and you being at the bottom. You are scrambling up the hill towards them and trying to pick up any crumbs of attention and affection and love that they give you, because you are desperate to get back what you got at the start. It can be very confusing and upsetting. You don't quite understand why the dynamic has changed, but it's changed because the narcissist has realized that you're now hooked on them. So now they start revealing their true selves to you. Red flag number 3, they have been abandoned as a child. So that might mean that one of their parents or both of their parents left them as a young child, or the parents stayed in the household but their emotional needs were neglected. So how would you know if someone's emotional needs have been neglected? If you speak to someone about their childhood and it just sounds like they had a rough time, their parents were absent, they were always working, you'll just pick up a general sense that this person didn't have the best childhood. So my ex was a covert narcissist. He was abandoned as a baby by his father. This act of abandonment is actually what creates the narcissist in the first place. That feeling of being so unlovable, that feeling of not being wanted, causes the narcissist such a traumatic pain that they completely cut off their feelings and they cut off their ability to empathize with others, because being able to feel what others feel puts them in a vulnerable situation. It opens them up to be hurt, and they never want to feel that pain that they felt as a child when they felt so unlovable and so unwanted. If you're on a date with someone and they open up to you about their childhood and they tell you that one of the parents left the house and they were abandoned in some way, this could be a red flag that they were a narcissist. But like I said, hold your horses, keep that in your back pocket, and don't just jump the gun and judge them straight away. A massive, massive lesson I have learned when it comes to this. So I was terribly hurt in the past by narcissists, and I was hyper vigilant for spotting narcissists, as you can imagine. So when I went on a date with my current partner, on our first date, he opened up to me and he told me that when he was a young boy, when he was 4 years old, one of his parents left the household. Immediately, alarm bells in my head were like, ding, ding, ding. I was like, trying to keep a poker face. I was like, oh my God, he's a narcissist. But I said to myself, Gabrielle, hold on. I had a very genuine feeling coming from this man. I had a sense that this man was so genuine and so kind. And I said to myself, Gabrielle, you can't just cut off someone straight away. If you let it, you can let what happened to you in the past and that pain and hurt, You can let it influence your future actions and your future love prospects in a very negative way, because it is important to defend your heart and look after yourself and protect yourself. But also you can do it too much, to the extent where you are just cutting off people for the slightest thing. When you're dating someone and you're considering someone to be a long-term partner, you need to observe their behaviour over a long period of time, over weeks, over months, in different situations, to get a good sense of who that person is and what they're about, what their values are. Because generally, people at the start, they will show you their best selves, and they might decide to conceal other parts of themselves. So you need to see over a long period of time if that good behaviour falters. So in that moment, when I was on that date with my current partner and he told me that, I did get a feeling like, oh my God, he could potentially be a narcissist. But I calmed myself and I said, Gabrielle, you're having a really nice time. You're getting a really good feeling about this man. Give him a chance, go on a few more dates with him over a few weeks, a few months, and see if any other red flags start to show. And guess what? No other red flags did show. And I'm still with him today. We've been together 2 years. So that is a prime example of striking that balance of protecting yourself, but not doing it to the extent where you're just literally putting yourself off from finding a potential partner. Number 4, they use punishment tactics. So punishment tactics can include silent treatment. That was one of the punishment tactics that was used often by my covert narcissist ex. So how does this play out? So what happens is, like I said at the start, the narcissist, they're mirroring your behavior, they're love bombing you. You think they're the best thing ever. You think they're the one. You think, finally, my knight in shining armor has come to whisk me off my feet and sweep me away and live happily ever after. But then, like I said, the narcissist cannot keep up this fake persona, and the mask starts to slip and they start reverting back to their true selves. And when they start reverting back to their true self, they will start displaying behavior towards you that you're not happy with. They'll start treating you with maybe a bit of disrespect. Maybe they'll start criticizing you. Maybe just feel like they're not that keen anymore. They're not initiating dates anymore. There's a bit of distance. Something's not quite right. So you will go to them with this worry, with this concern. But the narcissist, they have got such a big, fragile ego, they cannot stand one little crumb of criticism. They will take the slightest thing you say. Something so simple as, oh, I feel like there's a bit of distance between us. I feel like you're not that bothered about going on dates with me anymore. Like, why is that? Something as simple as that, they can blow up. To the incident that has happened, their reaction is such an over-exaggeration. Their aim is to shut you down, and they will shut you down by displaying anger and aggression. So they will completely blow up, or they will just simply ignore you. And I cannot tell you how painful it was to be ignored when I was with my narcissistic ex. So I would bring up like the simplest of things that I wasn't happy with, and he would literally ignore me for like a day, days, hours. And you know what? When you really love someone, when you're really into someone, that really hurts. And also it makes you feel absolutely crazy, because literally, I can remember saying to him, I just want to have a conversation about this. Like, I don't want to shout or anything. His response was, I don't want to argue. I don't want to argue about this. I was like, I don't want to argue either. I literally want to have an adult conversation. I just want to sit down in a calm manner and discuss this like adults. Like, we don't have to argue. That's not my agenda. But in the narcissist's mind, they've not got the emotional intelligence and capability to handle this. All they see this as is a massive attack on themselves and their personality and the way that they are. And they need to immediately shut it down to protect themselves. Narcissist isn't capable of speaking about their feelings. I can remember with my ex, some topics, he would literally just tell me to shut up. He would aggressively tell me, he'd just say, shut up, I do not want to discuss that. And I'd just be like, oh, Like, and I wouldn't be able, I could not get my words out. It would just tell me to shut up. It was so painful. Back in those days though, I was very submissive and I was weak, I was fragile. I was in a state where I was desperate for love. You've got to remember that a person who gets with a narcissist isn't in a good place in their lives. You've got very little self-love, you've got very little self-esteem, self-confidence. You're desperate, you've got a void within yourself. You're desperate to fill that void with love and attention from someone. So when someone is treating you like this, the narcissist knows that they can tread down on your boundaries. So when it came to situations like this, I never stood up for myself because I was so scared of losing the relationship. Essentially, this is emotional manipulation on behalf of the narcissist. And what they are saying is, don't you dare bring up certain topics. Don't you dare bring up anything about me and about who I am and the way I act, or you will be punished. You will be punished with anger, or you will be punished with silent treatment. And there is always the looming threat that the narcissist will break off the relationship because you're just irritating them with your concerns. And they know that you are desperate for that relationship to keep going. But I can remember being in so much pain from the silent treatment. Like, I can remember being at work, he would have just read my messages and left me on read for hours. And just the feeling, I'd feel sick in my stomach. Literally, I can remember being at work and I just felt so sick. My stomach was in knots. I didn't want to eat. And I just couldn't understand why just such a simple conversation couldn't be had. It was just so painful. But now with my current partner, we have conversations all the time. And that was one of my non-negotiables for my next relationship, to have someone who I can communicate with, where we can talk about simple things and resolve them together, remain calm, put ourselves in each other's shoes, come to a compromise, come up with solutions as a team, as a partnership, and move on. Someone who I can discuss anything with. Like, there's some topics that are harder than others. Like, sometimes I've brought stuff up with my partner that I know he's particularly not going to like, but he always remains calm. He always listens to me. He never tells me to shut up. He never gives me silent treatment. And that's how it should be in a healthy relationship. Red flag number 5, they put you down. So they criticize you, and this might be in subtle or obvious ways. So they might criticize your appearance. They might criticize your personality and how you do things. I can remember with my ex, whenever I had like the slightest pimple on my face, he'd be like, oh, what's that? What's that on your face? And I'd be like, oh, it's just a spot. And then I can remember once I had my hair up in a bun, literally, like, we were just going to his house to chill. So I just like shoved my hair up, and he turned to me in the car and he was like, I really don't like your hair like that. And then there was the time where we were chilling out together and I was messing about on the floor and I squashed my face to the floor. And I can remember he said to me, oh, never make that face ever again. I can't tell you how hurtful these things were. I can remember also I had an old pair of leggings that I just used to wear like round the house, or sometimes like maybe I'd nip out in the car with him wearing them. Like, we were just nipping to his. He'd pick me up from mine and he'd take me to his. And they had like a hole down the leg. Like, the hole wasn't in my private parts. It was just down the leg. And he'd be like, I hate those leggings. He was like, you need to get rid of them. They're disgusting. And I can remember all these little things, like about the pimple, about my face being squashed, about my hair, about the leggings. That just made me feel really rubbish, and it made me feel not attractive, and it made me question if I was good enough for him and if he actually found me attractive, or sometimes he was thinking in my head, ew, she repulses me. Now I'm in a relationship with a partner and it's healthy. He has never ever made me feel like that, like never. And that's the way it should be. I never question if he finds me attractive. He always makes me feel like super beautiful. Like, even if I'm feeling down about myself, he's there, like in my corner, like making me feel better about myself. And yeah, that is a massive red flag, because basically, again, what the narcissist is doing, they are establishing the dynamic of control. So if you're feeling rubbish about yourself, you are going to be down here. And again, you are looking up this hill to the narcissist, they are on top, and you are trying to scramble up to them, and they are throwing you crumbs of love and attention when they feel like it. They have got that power over you. The narcissist always needs to feel that they are the best. They are the one being adored, and also that they can steer the relationship in the way that they want. They're in control of you and the relationship. This power dynamic and criticizing you, it's also putting you in a place where you've got little self-love to begin with, but now your self-love and self-esteem is getting even less. And it's also making sure that maybe you've not got the confidence to leave them. If you're always feeling down here and that the narcissist is above you and you need to adore them and you need to make sure that their needs are met and they're happy, you're so fixated and concentrated on them, you're not going to be thinking of leaving them. They want to make sure that you're not in a confident position to be discarding them and leaving them. So the sixth and final red flag, they lack empathy, or they've got zero empathy. And this is the red flag where on its own, this could signal that someone is a narcissist. Because if someone has not got empathy, that means they are capable of doing really deceitful things and having zero remorse. Empathy is absolutely critical to a long-term relationship, because what it means is when a disagreement comes up, your partner is able to put themselves in your shoes and understand how you're feeling in that situation and relate to you, which in turn enables you to come together calmly about a disagreement, come up with a strategy, a plan, compromise together, and then come up with a solution that suits you both, and then move forward. If someone doesn't have empathy, they're not gonna even want to understand where you're coming from. All they're gonna want to do is shut you down, shut you up, and move on. And you cannot maintain a long-term relationship in this mind frame. Having empathy, it's not just important when disagreements come up, it's just important on a day-to-day, because having empathy means caring for someone, showing someone the utmost love, kindness and respect. If someone's not got empathy, they're not going to go out their way to show you love and kindness. They're going to be thinking about themselves, they're going to be very selfish, and they are not going to be treating you in the way that you deserve. So how do you spot if someone's got empathy or not? So you can spot it by being the observer. So when you're dating someone, you need to observe someone, and you need to observe someone in multiple situations and scenarios. So how do they treat others? How do they treat you? How do they treat you and others over a long period of time? Not just the first 2 weeks of meeting them. How do they treat you a month down the line? Are they still treating you with love, kindness and respect? What I found is with my narcissistic ex, he actually treated other people very well to their face anyway. And he was sort of seen as like the golden boy. Everyone thought the sun shone out his bum, and that he was such a sweet gentleman, so nice. But behind closed doors, to me, he was anything of the sort. So I would say, number one, go off how they treat you over the long term. Number two, how to spot empathy. So what are their views on discussion topics that come up between the two of you? Maybe on worldly matters, or if you're somewhere and a situation occurs and there's a definite right and wrong, what's their stance, what's their opinion? I can remember with my ex, he had very different opinions to myself, and his opinions would come up and they'd be quite concerning. I can remember thinking, oh, like something would come up and I'd be like, oh, that doesn't sound quite right. I feel like there's a lack of empathy there. There's a lack of consideration for the other person. And yeah, I just got a bad feeling. listen to that bad feeling, because that is your body telling you that something is wrong. Finally, to see if someone's got empathy, if a disagreement comes up, things aren't going their way, how do they react? Are they able to put themselves in your shoes, sit down calmly with you and discuss it, or do they completely blow up? Do they give you silent treatment? If they act like this, they have not got empathy and they are not capable of maintaining a long-term relationship. I can remember with my narcissistic ex, there was a multitude of red flags that had garnered over the period of 10 months. And I can remember towards the end, the words were just spilling out of me. I feel like he's capable of doing really bad things. I can remember voice noting my friend and I was thinking it in my head. And yeah, it was just coming, these words were coming out of me, and I sort of didn't want them to come out of me because I didn't want to be saying that about him and then lose the relationship. I was in complete denial, but these words were pouring out of me, and I was saying to myself, I feel like, and I was saying to my friends, I feel like he's capable of doing really bad things. If you're saying that about your partner, that is the most huge red flag ever. You should never be saying that about someone who you are considering spending the rest of your life with. If you are ever thinking that about someone, you need to leave the relationship immediately. Now, I'm in a healthy relationship that I've been in for 2 years. I have never, ever thought that my partner is capable of doing really bad things. I'm thinking the opposite. I'm thinking, wow, this man is so kind. He's so patient. He's so generous. He's so selfless. He actually makes me feel like a bad person. And I'm thinking, I need to be more like this man. Literally, this man is got so much goodness in him. It's coming out of him like sunbeams. He's like a big ball of sunshine. I need to be more like this man. I never, ever thought about my ex in that way. Never. I was thinking, oh my God, I think he's capable of doing really bad things. Oh, that didn't quite sound right. Oh, we'll look over that, what he's just said. Oh, I don't feel like he's treating me well. Oh, he's really upsetting me. I'm going to bed at night with tears streaming down my face. Literally, it was a mess. And those words that were pouring out of me ended up being true, because in the end, I found those messages on his phone one morning when he'd gone to golf, where he messaged a prostitute and he'd asked for an hour of her time. I looked at the dates. It was the day before we went on holiday to meet his mum and sister in Bali. And he'd just finished work, and he was planning to meet up with this prostitute before coming home to me, and then we were going on the holiday the next day. So he was definitely capable of doing terrible, deceitful things and feeling zero remorse for it. So I'm going to wrap up the video now. I hope you found those top 6 red flags for spotting a narcissist very helpful. This is something that I would have loved to have heard years ago when I was going through this cycle of toxic relationships. I can remember I felt so lost, and figuring out whether a guy was good or not seemed so hard for me. It just seemed like this really super complicated, confusing situation. Trying to find love and a good partner just seemed like the impossible to me. But now I've healed myself, and one thing I will say is I am now, God forbid me and my current partner ever split up, I am 100% confident that I could find a good and loving, healthy relationship again. Like I said, I can spot a narcissist 100 miles away. It's blatantly obvious to me now. And I think something that has helped me with that is that I've become in tune with my body. I've become very, very in tune with my body. My body will tell you everything you need to know about someone just by being in their presence. So I feel like in life we can be very distracted by social media and everything that's going on in the outside world with work and friends and family, and we've got all these thoughts in our mind and it distracts us from our senses. And if you sit and get quiet with yourself and just be still and tune into your body, you can just feel subtle signs, subtle feelings when you're around someone. It even happens to me now, like when I'm at work, I can quickly figure people out. Like my body is like a magical compass that helps me navigate life, and it steers me in the direction of people that are good for me. I will say, even when I wasn't in a good mental state, I was still having like these really strong feelings in my body that something wasn't right regarding the men that I was dating. So my body was still speaking to me there, and I wasn't blind to it. And the thing is, these red flags with the narcissists, they showed up within the first few weeks. Like I said, people are not master manipulators. These guys didn't pull the wool over my eyes. I turned a blind eye. I saw the red flags, but I was so desperate to be with someone that I just overlooked it and I disrespected myself. And a consequence of that is that I ended up going through absolute hell. I put myself through so much pain and suffering that was completely unnecessary. When you meet someone, don't get ahead of yourself. Don't go from 0 to 100 and put on your rose-tinted glasses. There's no rush to be in a relationship with someone. When I look back, I was very much in a rush, and especially if you've got low self-love, low self-esteem, there will be that desperation about you to be with someone. And in that state of desperation, that's when you can start to overlook the red flags. But yeah, my advice to you was be calm and observe. Observe someone's behavior over a long period of time. So you might have a great first date with someone, but don't get your hopes up too much, because like I said, people always show their best selves at the very beginning. You need to observe someone over multiple dates, in different situations, in different scenarios. When a bit of a disagreement comes up, how do they react? That's how you will be able to judge if someone is actually the genuine, honest, loving person that you first perceive them to be. Like I said at the start, the narcissist is going to mirror your behavior, and they're going to mirror your interests. They're going to be super enthusiastic and keen. So this is essentially love bombing you. They're trying to get you hooked. So you've just got to be careful that you are feeling confident within yourself. You're feeling calm. You're not feeling desperate. You've got a good amount of self-love, because if you've not got those things, you will fall into the trap, and we need to make sure you are not falling into that trap. Like I said, there's no rush. Don't go from 0 to 100. You can't tell that someone's the love of your life from meeting them once or twice. It needs to be over a period of weeks and months. In order to ensure that you don't fall victim to a narcissist, you need to be working on your self-love. And that is something I'm going to speak about in future videos, because basically when I actually got to understand what actual self-love is, that's when my life completely transformed. And that's when I finally found the love of my life, a healthy relationship. I found this man at the age of 32, so I was finally able to break that cycle. And I'm so thankful for that, because I know being in that cycle is painful, and you start to lose hope and you get scared that it's going to happen again and again. So you can end up completely cutting yourself off from love. But yeah, my final words of advice would be, when you get these feelings in your body that something is wrong, don't dismiss it. Don't blame yourself. Like I used to say, oh, I'm just an anxious person, so that's probably why I'm feeling anxious. No, it's not you. Your body is trying to tell you something. It's trying to save you from the heartbreak and pain of the nightmare that's to come. Anyway, guys, I hope you found this super helpful, and thanks for listening, and see you next time.